Yesterday, I did a video that was talking about how the mom to wife pipeline is drying up. It's drying up because instead of people going straight from their parents' house into cohabitating and being married, women are going off to college, they're focusing on their careers, and they're getting married later in life. In the course of that video yesterday, I used this screenshot. This woman named Stephanie O'Connell. She says, if you want to understand why single men are treated as the victims of a crisis and single women are treated as selfish villains, it's because access to a wife's unpaid labor enables this. And in this graph, but yes, the graph is from 2016. In this graph, it shows how employed men and women, how their wages vary based on if they're married or not. I'm going to try to make the graph a little bit bigger. So the various lines on this graph, we have the solid gold line, which are married men, the dashes that are gold, which is single men. We have the solid blue line, which are married women, and then the dashes that are blue, which is single women. As you can see here, if you look, and the ages are across the bottom, these are the ages. Across the very top, married men are above everybody. And then everybody else is right here in between. Like married women are a little bit higher than single women. Then look at single men. They're right there in the fray. So there's not that much difference between married women, single women, and married men if you look at these lines over the courses of the people's ages. But married men are above everybody at every single age. So there is something called the motherhood penalty and the fatherhood bonus. And it's typically because men, married men and fathers are the ones that are seen as the breadwinners. And because of that, men are typically paid more if they are married and a father. I know that that graph that I showed was about married men, and not all married men will have kids, but this is just a generalized type of topic, especially if all of these people are not pulling out data to measure whether or not they have kids or married or all of that. But motherhood penalty, fatherhood bonus, let's talk about it. These are based in stereotypes. This is an article from the 19th. It says dads get paid more when they have kids as moms earn less. And we know why that is. Dads' lives don't typically have to change that much. When men start to have babies, no one says, who's going to take care of your kids? If you have to, go on a work trip and you're a dad, they're not wondering who's going to be at home with the kids because they know that it's typically the wife that will fall out of the workforce or who will leave the job to go take care of a sick kid. We know that moms are typically the ones that do this. So that's the reason why women get the penalty and dads get the bonus, because dads are the ones that are typically seen as the breadwinner. So it says stereotypes around parenthood are having a lasting effect on the gender pay gap, which has not budged in 20 years, according to a new study by Pew. That's the reason why I said, even though that other graph is from 2016, it's still valid because times have not changed that much and wages have not changed that dramatically. While having children often leads to less pay for mothers, fatherhood leads to an increase. Men with children typically earn more than both women with or without kids, and men without children. This parenthood paradox, at least in part, may be responsible for maintaining the gender pay gap, which has been consistent for 20 years. Gender stereotypes around parents are so deeply embedded into American work culture that they have had a significant impact in not just how mothers are treated in the workplace, but in how employers compensate fathers, according to a new study of the census data by the Pew Research Center released Wednesday. Data was not collected on non-binary people, so they were not part of the analysis. Men tend to increase their work hours and receive a bonus when they have children, a phenomenon known as the fatherhood wage premium. Women, meanwhile, experience the motherhood penalty, which studies have found is closely tied to a conscious or subconscious bias against mothers, who may be viewed by employers as less competent or committed to the job. Pew found that fatherhood premium has a larger effect in widening the pay gap during parenthood than the dip mothers experience in their pay. The fatherhood premium is so ingrained that dads ages 25 to 54 out-earn women and men regardless of the parenthood status. This graph is about parents who have kids under the age of 18 and their employment status, and this is by age. So this first set of numbers are men and women ages 25 to 34, then we have 35 to 44, and we have 45 to 54. And so like I said, these are parents with children under the age of 18. When the people are 25 to 34, 70% of women work. Then it increases to 75% of women work if their ages 35 to 44, because probably the kids are a little bit older. And it goes to 76% of women with kids under the age of 18, 76% ages 45 to 54. But look at the men. The men regularly stay high, 94%, 94%, 93%. So men's employment is not impacted, whereas women typically fall out of the workforce more. Parenthood definitely impacts women more so than the men, and that's what this is showing. And so right here it says, it's the economic manifestation of the capitalist idea that fathers are breadwinners and need higher pay, despite the fact that, yes, 70% of women are still working, 70%, then 75%, and 76. So around 70 something percent of women are still working if they are parents, because yes, women do still provide for their family. So, but typically it's still going to be the woman that has to take off of work or whatnot. If the kid has a doctor's appointment, has something come up or whatnot, the mothers are impacted, whereas the dads are not. Employers recognize family needs and they compensate for it through one channel and not the other, said Rakesh Koshar, a senior researcher at Pew and the author of the study. The difference between the average pay for men and women across all industries and jobs make up the gender pay gap. Skip down, it says in 2022, women earned 82 cents for every dollar earned by men on average when comparing median hourly earnings for full and part-time workers. Okay, now I'm jumping a little bit to this part. It says the inflection point seems to be in large part when workers have children. The more likely a woman is to have a child under 18 at home, the wider the pay gap becomes. So once women have a child, that's when her pay tends to fall off. But if a woman is child-free and single, she tends to make just as much as men. So for that point, I'm moving over here to this Mother Jones article saying, why do women earn less than men? And they're talking about the gender pay gap here as well. This graph is not separated out by marriage. This is all about what happens when a woman decides to have a baby or if she has a baby. So the blue line is just men, and it's just talking about the earnings of men through this time frame. Now, here's the woman's line. If a woman does not have a child, here's her trajectory. It starts out lower than the men's right here, and it'll just keep going. So if she is a child-free woman, she could possibly make more than a man. But look at what happens when she has a child. She goes up, 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 and then bam, she drops. She drops for a reason. That is where the motherhood penalty comes in, because a woman that has a baby, she's going to fall out of the workforce for maternity leave. She may or may not stay out of the workforce. She might go back, but there is going to be a time where she is out of the workforce. And this is what happens. This right here, this big old gap, it does not get smaller. The gap comes when she becomes a mother, and it does not improve. Look at that. I wanted to see if there was a place where they pulled out data for parents versus child-free people. And that's what these two graphs do. And it does this over the particular ages, so 20 to 60. Over here, we got the light green, which is the moms, and then we have the dark green, which is the dads. And you see dads over the course of their lifetime will always make more than moms. And over here, over the ages, so, as they go up, up, up in trajectory, child-free men and women are making about the same amount. And then down here, there's a downward slope in the 40s on where child-free women make less than men. But at one particular point, when they are single, child-free, and about the same age, they're making about the same amount of money. So for child-free men and women, it's about the same, which I found to be interesting. And like I said, this is from January 2015. Here's this information if you wanted to look up the research information. I wanted to just highlight that motherhood does impact women. So when you are thinking about family formation, understand that this is going to impact your finances for the rest of your life, typically. So this is just one more thing that you need to consider when you are dating. And this is going to impact life going forward, especially as more and more women are opting out of childbirth. This is going to impact things, and it's going to continue to cause a shift in our culture. Let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.